Top of the morning, the afternoon, and the evening to you. There's a lot of latency on this, and I don't know what's wrong with it, but welcome to episode 8 of the Late Night Shift Live with your boy AntMoe. I am the hostess with the mostest, Anthony Moore, for those of you who don't know for sure. And I wanted to get into a certain theme for tonight entitled Keep That Same Energy. All right. I think there's a lot of things that we experience in culture that just don't add up. All right. And at the end of the day, the saying is, and I believe that what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And so whenever we start thinking that whatever we want supersedes what works for everybody else, unless it is a matter of faith, we run into some big issues. And so, like I said once before, welcome to the late night shift, man, where we shift, where we aim to. We're going to get it. Give me a second, kinfolk. Welcome to the Late Night Shift Live, where we aim to shift the culture's perspective with unadulterated truths and a little bit of grace, one story at a time. We're going to get that thing out, kinfolk. I promise you. So, one of the things that I always like to say and remind you of is that we are not salacious. We are not sassy. But we do plan to keep it really real 100% of the time. And so, with that being said, I always like to think about what it is that I want to be almost like an opening monologue, but just more so of like a thought, right? And I start thinking about my own life. It's kind of hard, to live in a world that is predicated off of selfies and vlogs and all of those things, and not think about your life first. That's just the reality of life. And this is what I realize is that I am in a transition in life, and if we're being real, all of us are always in a transition in life. And so there are very few things that we should take from this, but we should definitely always take something from it, which means that we have to be present and cognizant of the things that we are actually going through. And so when I think about transition, number one, we must acknowledge that we're in transition, right? If I don't know I'm going through a thing, it's going to be hell on the other side, to be honest, because I can go kicking and screaming, or I could understand like a Job. All right, this is something that even God Himself has brought, upon me for me to learn something. All right, the second thing that I believe, man, and it's really simple. I think we need to embrace the fact that we are all going through some type of transition and figure out what it is that we need to learn from it and how we must ultimately grow. In life, if you ain't learning, you ain't living. And so, with that being said, the first thing that I wanted to get into is something I call Pop Top, popular topic of the week from culture. All right, now this has been something that has kind of went on for a week or two, but it is the Jess hilarious versus Loren Larosa situation, and I call it the fallout. And to keep in theme with the title of this, you got to keep that same energy. So basically, and to skip to the end, let's get to the good part. They appear to be working together now. They appear to be in good spirits with each other, and everything is everything. We're creating content, we having a good time, we being sisters, and I love that for y'all. I love that for the women. I love that for the black women, kinfolk. They say we all can't work together, but no, I love that. I love that for them. But like I said before, I believe that Jess Hilarious must absolutely keep that energy. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what happened with that situation, Lauren LaRosa was handpicked by Jess Hilarious to be a fill-in while she went through all of the things with maternity leave or whatever that was going on. Maybe she was touring sometimes. I don't know. But meaning I don't know the whole story. But at the end of the day, there was a live that happened where Jess Hilarious pretty much expressed her discontent with what she believed was like they were trying to push her out the door. Now, to be fair to her, a lot of the times, especially when we talk about popular culture, this is a flavor of the week type of industry. You can love what I'm saying today and hate what I'm saying tomorrow, and be ready to cancel me on my little old platform because that's what people do. Um, but I will say this, even from an outside perspective, even before I get into the weeds on what she said, what happened, and why she needs to keep that same energy. The first thing is, you know, when we talk about black women, I do believe that as much as we can look and say, hey, Black women a lot of the times are they're the most educated, they're the most compensated, all of those things, right? Compare, and I think a lot of the times it's really being spoken of in comparison to their black male counterparts. In the grand scheme of things, when you match them up with white males or whatever, it's not really comparable. But in this instance, we are talking about Just Hilarious, a longtime comedian, new mom, all of those things. We say congratulations for that. But the reason she needs to keep that energy is because as I even talked about in the opening monologue or statement, a lot of the times it's hard for us not to focus on ourselves, right? And so when you go on a live to express your discontent, it kind of exposes some things about you sometimes. And I believe that she thought that she was bigger than the program to a certain extent. And that's just my honest assessment. Not saying that she ever said this, but I think that when you look at somebody who, it's easy to bring up that there's a contract in place. It's easy to say I'm gonna take my ball and go home, because that's exactly what she pretty much said. That she could pretty much see a life beyond the Breakfast Club and all of those things. I mean, which one is it at the end of the day? Do you want to move on from the show, or are you just upset because it appears that Loren Larosa happens to be getting more pub? So she went on and pretty much aired out, all of the people that were attached to her on the Breakfast Club, express her discontent for the situation. And, it wasn't cool. Now the silk scarf she had on was a pretty fire silk scarf on the head. But other than that, I don't think that's very P of her. You know what I'm saying? And so that transitioned into her coming on the show and them talking about it. This is out of pocket for a lot of reasons, because as you would, if you go watch the clips, I'm not going on Tubi to watch all of them, but if you go watch the clips that were put out, there were some attempts by the people on the show to come to an understanding with her at times, um, expressly DJ Envy, that talked about how he didn't appreciate any of it because he thought it was a little lame and goofy, because all of these things, should be taken care of behind the scenes. And I absolutely agree with that. I believe that as powerful as social media can be, it is also it is kind of allowed us to become spoiled to a certain extent. Meaning that, if, let's say, for instance, if they actually were trying to push her out, if she's a person who doesn't show up for the job, if there are some things that she has responsibilities for, FMLA qualifying things for those people who have those government type jobs and things of that nature. And FMLA is definitely, it goes beyond just the government, but I'm just saying, if it's something like that, then it's understandable. But I think me and a whole bunch of people who may have watched that show on and off have gotten very used to seeing the face of a Lauren LaRosa, who actually does the job very well. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm too familiar with what a Jess with the Mess is. Yes, I've seen the segments, but it's not something that necessarily interests me. When she sits on the show and talks about everything was fine until Lauren shows up and she's pronouncing words a certain way and whatever, I just think she's very good at what she does, and she also already had a background in media. And so for them to sit on the show, it's dope, but on another end, it's kind of whack, because is this a ratings ploy? Is this something that people are doing? Is this something that y'all have kind of in some ways overdone or exaggerated to bring ratings to the show? When you look at somebody like Charlemagne and DJ Envy, they've been doing this for a long time. All right. And to be honest, I don't think they've missed much of the light skinned girl. What was her name? What was the one chick name? You don't know? My boy Chris here. He don't know. I don't know either. Whatever her name was, I don't think they really miss her as much. When you look at what she brought to the table, it was cool. Angela Yee. Yeah, what was it? And she's got some god awful show that talks about, they always talking about penises and sex. I mean, I just think this generation is way too raunchy for me, can't folk. But anyway, well, I guess shout out to her. Is that what they be saying? Shout out to her. But anyway, I mean, I ain't trying to hate. I'm just saying, like, we gotta listen. I think this culture You know what? This kind of goes into some other stuff about women's liberation, which I think is very overdone. If we're being honest, and I wasn't, hey, kinfolk, now I'm kind of in my groove now. Uh, this whole thing about women can't be modest anymore is we got to chill out on that, yo. Um, you know, slippery when wet tattoos is cool when you going to find somebody at the club to just go do a little something with, but you don't marry those women unless they've been reformed. So that's a whole nother situation. But if you love lip service or whatever her show is, go off. But my point is, I don't think the show really missed anything because I think typically you had Charlamagne who was pissing somebody off, and you had DJ Envy who was in his feelings. And I think that she was kind of in the middle of what was going on most of the time. So with that being said, Jess Hilarious coming to the show wasn't something that was a bad thing. But there's levels to anything in life. That's the point that I believe is important when saying somebody needs to keep that same energy, right? It's like you go into every relationship thinking that you're gonna be the best man that this woman has ever encountered is unrealistic. And I ain't even talking sexually. I'm just saying in paying attention, conversation, whatever that may be. And so I think we get so entitled and entangled in what we want, what our expectation is. And I believe that in this situation, it bit her in the butt. So there's this moment where she's getting emotional. And I mean, she has the right to get emotional about whatever she feels away. But I think what she never spoke about is the reality of why she was really emotional. I believe you were emotional because you believe that she was executing better than you were. The ratings indicated that it was necessary for Lauren Larosa to stay on that show. And they had this dynamic where when she showed back up, she said she wasn't really feeling her. And the reality was she wasn't really feeling her because she just wanted her to be a fill-in for her position while she was out. That just comes with the job, kinfolk. Loren was a producer, or is still serves as a producer on the show. Like I said, she already had work that she had done in the media space prior to coming to the Breakfast Club. So it only made sense that she had some level of training or expertise that she could bring to the show. And so when we look at that, like I said, it turned into this on-air thing where I'm like, are they gonna fight? Like, you know, she said, she told her to shut up, on a prior show, and Loren is like, my mama don't even tell me to shut up, and it's like, well, the only way that you seem to be able to respond to people is if somebody tells you to shut up or something like that. And I'm like, how can you really know that or say that to be a true statement? So all of it was kind of messy and catty. And I believe that it was just rooted in this overall, like, do I really fit the bill? And in this culture, we have to be more real about not the feeling itself, but why we feel the feeling. Whether that's this, do I actually feel good enough? Do I struggle with, significance or important, whatever that may be? But don't use it as a term to disrespect your employer, disrespect somebody that you said you handpicked. How messy and disrespectful is it to handpick somebody to fill in for you, and then treat them like trash when you get back because you really feel like you don't know where your place is anymore. So that was just something that I didn't understand about that situation. And I just overall, to close out this section of it, I just think that this culture is very emotional and entitled. And I believe that social media has become our enemy in that regard because we don't learn how to talk to people one on one. We don't know how to be real. We actually work to save face on camera, and push certain narratives that may not be true, just so that we can make it look like something when we may be crying our eyes out at home. And so anyway, the last thing is, she just had an interview that dropped with Shannon Sharp, and I don't have much to say about it because I didn't finish it. It wasn't that good, but I respect whatever she got going on. Shout out to her. And we'll move on. The next thing I want to get into, something that's a little more dicey for me, and that is Teyana Taylor versus Iman Shumpert. For those of you who may not know, this was a couple that that they were a married couple at one point. Teyana Taylor, a great performer, actor, singer, dancer, you name it, fashion style icon, all of those things. Iman Shumpert, an artist as well, actor, rapper, former NBA basketball player, has a dope podcast as well. I don't know if he's still doing it, but for when I was kind of tapping in with it, he gave me some dope ideas. But concerning this relationship and these dynamics, they recently got divorced. And I titled this the double standard because Teyana ran off with the bag, kinfolk. I'm gonna just keep it real simple with you. Teyana ran off with the bag. Okay. She pretty much walked off with millions of dollars, the sprinters, Cullinans, spousal support, you name it. She walked off with it. And it's I'm not here to argue whether she was the breadwinner or he was the breadwinner because it doesn't matter. She the breadwinner now. You know what I'm saying? Like she ran off with that bag, kinfolk. And the double standard of it all is that I wasn't abreast of the situation. Like over a year ago, when all the stuff started coming out, you started hearing leaked information or maybe open information about their relationship, things with the kids, stuff like certain comments that Iman might have made about something about animals and eating children, eating your young, or something like that. Which, before we even go any deeper into it, we all understand how people can use examples for things where it may be a over the top example, but it's not a literal thought about if you're going to actually eat your children or your young. But I think that forever, I'll say forever, but specifically in this modern culture, dating back probably 50 years or 40 years, whatever, divorce is a nasty thing. It always has been, it always will be. But it seems that it's turned into this thing where it's no holds barred until there's a winner. When somebody can express that they took dominance over the situation, whether that's somebody that was able to get the kids full time, or you were able to secure a certain level of spousal support, or you name it. If you were able to make this woman look like she was the worst mother in the world, it's like once you can kind of ail the hurt that you felt from a situation, then it's like you can work to move on, to heal, or do the proper work to, be in a position to be better for yourself, for your children, for your future spouse, whatever that may be. This situation was brought to my attention by women who stated that, per whatever information was put out there, public knowledge, that Iman was jealous of his wife, that he had a very porous temperament, that the kids loved her more, all things that, I'll be honest, I think are nasty work and just ploys to kind of skew something that favors you in the public by whoever the person is who put this out. Now, whether this is public knowledge, I just, for me, even if I was a Iman Shumpert fan, I'm not going to Google the terms of his divorce, the things that they're talking about in court. And if you're one of those people who do, go off, girlfriend. You feel me? But I'm not. That's not my thing. I don't live and breathe by what celebrities do. I'm interested on some things, and I do believe that the perspective that is given is something that can be truthful but not nasty, like I said. But I think in this situation, right, it's a double standard, and she got to keep that same energy because you can't want to put out all this information about the children and about statements that he's made. It's kind of like with friendship, right? And I talk about this with my boy all the time. It's interesting to me that in relationships and romantic relationships and then actual friendships, how most of the time that person was great until they weren't great anymore. So in friendship, right? If you got a dude who all you do is get high, he don't take care of his kids, he don't see his kids, he don't talk to his kids, he don't pay child support, you name it. When he was going out with you to the club, When he didn't wrong you, when he was doing snake stuff to other people, you didn't really, hey, that's my dog, I'm 10 toes down. But when it touched your backyard, now you see clearly and you have this hindsight that this dude is trash, whatever, whatever. I don't get that. There's not a friend that I have right now, not Chris that's sitting in here now, not Randy, even my boy DeMarco, TJ. I won't have the most nasty and vicious words to say about my friends, because I believe that if they aren't anymore, at some point they were considered to be true friends. That all of a sudden now I get to put a narrative out there about this person because it makes me believe that you always thought these nasty negative things about me. And if you did, why were we friends in the first place? Why did we live in such close proximity for so long? And so with Teyana, even if she kind of wanted to kind of push the, hey, here go a little information for the blog, I could believe it. I'm sorry. And it's not because she's a woman. In this instance, she is a woman and she walked away with a favorable situation. But where she has to keep that same energy is she put out a post that said, please, can everybody, the divorce is signed and sealed. Can you just let Iman do whatever he is doing in peace? Let him go live in peace. Let me go live in peace. Please, let me live in peace. And then she, at the end of it, she said very tongue in cheek, let me get my back blown out in peace. All right, I'm going to get out of here. And I just think stuff like that is corny, to be honest. You're not no less of a public figure anymore. And the information is still going to be out there. That's why we have to learn to control our emotions, men and women alike. Because how you feel today might very well not be how you feel tomorrow. Especially when we're talking about people that we have to do life with, that we have to take care of these kids together. We got to look at each other for the next 18, 17, 15 years or wherever, however long that, and even beyond that to a large degree. But when a kid turns 18, of course, you don't have to do this communication thing like you did when they were younger. But I think that when it comes to something like this, where it's like, okay, you've walked off with a bag, you walked off with properties, all of these things that, to be honest, we all know this, they're not going to give you no peace. They can help you live on this earth a little bit better in certain circumstances, but now you want the noise to die down, and so we can all go live in peace. And I just think that that's a lazy cop out. And the double standard of it is, if Iman goes and the shoe is on the other foot, and he says these things about women, about his, ex-wife, or things about the kids or whatever, or he's actually seeking some spousal compensation or alimony because maybe she was the breadwinner, they're going to say that he was a coward. They're going to say that he was sassy. They're going to say whatever derogatory term that makes him seem like less of a man. But when it comes to these type of things, a man, and I agree with it, to be honest with you, a man is supposed to be quiet. A man is supposed to move and be peaceful. Don't have any outbursts. You can't express your emotion. Now, I'm not saying I fully agree with that. No, I think you find healthy outlets. You go get therapy. You have close knit friends that you talk to. You go pray. All of those things. Those are things that are all necessary, but not always logistically real, right? There was a season of life, about 2 years ago, where for about 3 months, me and my partner got on the phone and I just expressed myself. I'm gonna say it that way. I said obscenities. Sometimes I just said unnecessary obscenities, and I'm not an obscenity kind of guy, to be honest. But that was where I was at the time, and I think sometimes it would be the holy Christian thing to say, "Oh, go pray about it," or go talk to God. But it's like sometimes I just need to get something out to this dude over here too. So at the end of the day, my point is we have to do a better job as a culture, especially black men and women, of not trying to berate and drag each other through the mud, whether that's for a bigger payout, whether that's to look like a better parent, whatever it may be. And I just believe in this situation, this had way more to do with that. And then now that the dust has settled, and sometimes people will never recover from a public maligning. The way that he is viewed in the public eye may never change. But what I would encourage us to do is seek not to be the ones who are putting these names out there, because he was the finest thing in the world at one point when they was swinging and bringing people into bedrooms. They had terms for, I don't know what the term was, kinfolk. You don't know. It's a term when they bring them in. They call them Joes or Madams or something. I don't know. That's another thing, kinfolk. Since we here, listen, bruh. I get it. This culture doesn't value marriage. I get it. Stop bringing these folks into your bedroom, kinfolk. It ain't gonna work out. Y'all heard the story Kevin Hart said about old buddy. He wanted to bring somebody in. They went to one of them parties and somebody was lambasting his wife. Hey, listen, kinfolk. Y'all gotta leave that stuff alone. All right? It's all cool until your wife taking interest in that girl when you ain't around. So that's neither here nor there. But leave them people out your bedroom, kinfolk. Hey, some of this stuff, if you're doing it the right way, you ain't gonna know that he whack until you get in there. So that's neither here nor there, kinfolk. But I don't got no tea to sip. Moving on. So in Texas news, we have, and I'm gonna say it, kinfolk, because ain't nobody gonna whoop me. We have Governor Hot Wheels. They Jasmine, and I gotta say her whole name, kinfolk. I gotta say her whole entire name. Jasmine Felicia Crockett. Okay? She is a lawyer and a politician. She is a Democrat and the U.S. representative for Congress. Um, she called him Governor Hot Wheels in front of all them people, and I don't know why. So the issue that I have with this is twofold. Why you had to say it? I hate that sometimes us as black people, for those of you who don't know, this is my excuse for her. I got two excuses. She's new. Okay, she only been there since 2023, kid folk. She's still learning what a secret doors is. You know what I'm saying? that's my first excuse. Whether it's right or wrong, kid folk, I gotta give her out. You know what I'm saying? She's a sister. The second thing is she black. If anybody is going to test the limits, if anybody gonna get that Porsche, kid folk, and floor it, it's gonna be the black person. So that is my thing, right? So Jasmine Felicia Crockett, here's my issue with this. I think that y'all are hypocritical. Y'all are very much hypocritical in this situation. And who am I speaking about? I am speaking about white Republicans. So Governor, what's his last name, kid, folks? Governor Hot Wheels, Governor Abbott, he apparently he was jogging, and I'm not making light of this. This is a real situation, kid, folk. I just found this out today. I thought the man was like the man in the Bible, that he was blind his whole life. Apparently, that's not true. Apparently, the man was jogging when he was 26 years old. He was just jogging through the neighborhood, light leisure, casual stroll, and a tree fell. This ain't funny. I promise you, this ain't funny. I promise you, Lord. I promise you. This ain't funny. But it's just the way that I present it. Apparently, a tree fell on the man. That's not cool. You know what I'm saying? That ain't P either. But here's the thing. Why I didn't know about that until these conservative white Republican people wanted to make it like, people said she was cruel and all of these other things, and I'm like, you would be a fool to think that she's the first one who came up with this. I seen a random dude on Twitter say this 2 years ago. Seriously, like, stop making it seem like people like y'all say stuff about us when we ain't around. We know it. You know you do. What you call me? What you call me, Ken? Jam, what do you call me when I'm not there? Huh? So that's my thing. I just think that I literally seen his wife, his loving, supporting wife, has stood by his side. And what you want her to do? You want her to leave him because the tree fell on the man? Now people have left people for less, and for far, for far worse, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, let's stop making it seem like Felicia. I'm sorry, that's disrespectful. I called the woman Felicia. Jasmine Crockett. I mean, you know what it is, and she brought this up in her response. And next time, I'm still learning Ecamm, and I got a whole intro and all a bunch of stuff. Dog, don't worry about that. We're gonna get on this go round, kinfolk. But she, in her response, she brought up, and it was very well played, by the way. It reminds me of you seen that episode of the Cosby's where he was battling against that tap dance man, and he's a challenge, that boy. So that's what it kind of reminded me of, because it's like, listen, this man hopped on jets, planes, and trains, was in Cabo, while Texas was under a sheet of ice. It's just stuff like that where it's like, you got to keep that same energy, white Republicans. You really do. And this isn't a white versus black thing. I love white people. I promise you. The first church I went to, I had white friends. You feel what I'm saying? I don't know if I got white friends. Let me let me think. Do I got white friends? Does work count? Coworkers don't count. So I don't got white friends like that. but hey, inbox me. We'll talk about it, kid folks. We just don't, we just don't frequent the same places. And it's not segregated. You feel me? Let's move on. Um, so I also want to segue this about the sister, because at the end of the day, she deserves grace like anybody else. The problem, and as we segue into the next thing that is very much Trump and Biden, um, y'all love giving Trump grace, and I'm here for it. Come on, kid folk. Hey, you bring your best shot. I don't care, and I don't care about your mama, because a lady wanted to full blown argue with me in the comments about Trump, and I never said anything negative. I just stated facts, and people don't like facts. They don't like the truth. It's like we are in United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave. You can chase the American dream, get your slice of the American pie, but don't disagree with me. Because as soon as you disagree with me, we got a problem. And I don't know what y'all's, what is the word, folks? Fanaticism? No. That's it? Oh, okay. Yeah, you be thinking I was, off my kilter a little bit. I don't know what your fanaticism is with that guy. Like, here's my thing about politics before I go any further. I could give two flips about it. And as I get older, I think I care a little bit more, because I understand that a lot of things are ran and controlled on the local level. Right? If you can literally walk into your local office and talk to your mayor. So things like that, potholes in your lights, lights on your street, whatever. Like, it's very much more. It's more. Dang it, what's the word I'm trying to say? It's better handled on the local levels. I'll say it that way. So here's the thing. Y'all are capped when it comes to um, trying to act like you're going to hold Miss Crockett accountable when you don't hold Trump accountable. And we don't got to talk about it. We don't got to get in the weeds about it, kinfolk. I think we all know our president is a felon, right? 30 something counts, right? We don't got to get into it. Listen, and I'm not saying that the guy's guilty. It's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in the black community that have been to prison. Matter of fact, I'll give you an example, kinfolk. And this ain't even, this is on the local level, real local, like in front of your TV screen. My brother used my name to the police. My brother used my name to the police and said he was me. And I was applying for an apartment, kinfolk. and I got denied. They said I had a misdemeanor at Arlington, kinfolk. I ain't never seen the inside of a cop car. I don't want to see. I ain't never seen the inside of a jail cell, kinfolk. So I get the fact that it could have been some big whoop or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if this is like TikTok, bro. On TikTok, they was like, "Oh, hey, say unalived." They always say unalived. Don't say that. Oh, don't say his name. Don't say the president. Like I'm like, yeah, this is a lame platform here, buddy. But anyway, here's why y'all are cap, right? Because I remember y'all. I remember y'all dancing in the streets when Biden got elected. I mean, y'all was doing all that, kinfolk. Literally, y'all was doing that in the streets because y'all thought that he was gonna change something. That man almost stroked out on the clock. Shouldn't have ever. The man fell off of a. The bike wasn't moving, kinfolk. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, though. Y'all got to keep that same energy, and and I promise you, it's all love, kinfolk. I don't. If you love Biden still, I hope he's still with us. And, and if he not gone too soon, you know what I'm saying? Gone but never forgotten, kinfolk. You came, saw, and you conquered. You were what did he have? Do you know what he had? What's that thing where what's that chat, if y'all can help me too? What's that thing called? What did he have where you forget stuff? This no disrespect to anybody that's got this once I figure out what it is. Chris in here can't help me with a doggone thing. Dementia. Thanks for nothing, Chris. Chris in here on this phone. Chris over here like, Kill fuck, I'm trying to figure out what my show's about. But no, so I mean it's no secret. The man had dementia. And I mean he won. I don't because people hated Trump so bad, right? Yeah, dementia. Thank you, C May. You know what I'm saying? Boy, Chris in here, dog. I thought he was going, you know what I'm saying? I thought he was gonna step in for me. But anyway, yeah, man. So this is why y'all are capped, because per what y'all say, this ain't what Anthony think about him. Per what y'all say, the man, Trump he's a racist, he's a bigot, he's a rapist, he's a spoiled rich white man. Yet the man talked about building a wall 8 years ago. Do you know the biggest demographic that voted him in? You betcha. Hispanics. So and then the funniest thing about it all, which ain't funny at all. I'm sorry to my Viva Mexico. I'm not trying to. It was people. I don't know if this is real. They were getting deported and they had on Trump shirts. You can't make this stuff up, bro. How? Anyway. Oh, you can't make this stuff up, bro. So y'all got to keep that same energy. Let me get back on track here. Keep that same energy, kinfolk. So just to go back to the Felicia Crockett, Jasmine Felicia Crockett. For those of you who don't, Jasmine Felicia Crockett, if you're nasty, kinfolk, y'all gonna leave her alone, because at the end of the day, everybody's saying what they want to say until it's a problem. We all call them Hot Wheels in our spare time. It's going off the rails now, kinfolk. Anyway, I'm trying to think. Is there any? That was it. That's all I have for the docket today. I didn't get to get my full layout. I'm trying to think. Is there anything that I missed from what I wanted to talk about on the docket? I think that's everything. Uh, so here are my final thoughts. And also, just checking in here, guys. If you are one of the 4 people on here and you haven't hit the like, could you buy it just do something for my little old cortisone here, kinfolk, hit the like. It's just going to expose it to other people who may want to watch it at a later date. We are also recording this show for the replayability. This is my first time actually going into the format. There's still a lot of things to learn as well, but y'all gonna have grace with me too, kinfolk. Y'all ain't got no choice. So anyway, I hope that the latency isn't too bad as well, because it is very choppy on my end, but I hope it's smooth enough for you guys. Otherwise, we're gonna have to talk to Spectrum, because they've been I want to say this joke that we said earlier, but I'm not gonna say it. But anyway, thank you for the person who also did the like. Everybody else disrespectful. Even if you somebody who hate me, and you trying to get something out of me, still like it. You know, it might work out for you, kinfolk. Anyway, here are my final thoughts. In all seriousness, we have to get back to what this country was supposed to be about. Um, and that was this life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I do believe that for a lot of reasons, we do live in the greatest country in the world. Like, seriously. We all get to have an opportunity to make money sitting in front of a TV screen. That's my point that I'm getting to here. And, you know, we find reasons to be against each other for any reason, and it just doesn't make sense to me. I do believe that, you know, they say it's gonna get worse before it get better, kinfolk. I don't know. I don't know how that works, but man, make sure that y'all I was supposed to have something cool to say that I usually say, and I can't remember what I said, kinfolk. I didn't get to my prep and stuff, kinfolk. But anyway, I'm not gonna belabor the point. I'm not gonna talk y'all ears off. We will be back on Saturday. On Saturday, so this is some housekeeping that I want to get into. Man, the Mind of a Man Network, we are going to bring you tons of different content, man. So it's not just live, content. This is going to be a bunch of recorded stuff. We got interviews coming, things of that nature, man. So please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, man. Tell a friend to tap in with the Mind of a Man Network, man, because we are going to seriously be bringing you a bunch of dope content. I thank you to everybody who has tapped in, man. So we will be doing church flow on Saturday night. And so we got some things we got to get into, you know what I'm saying, right before Sunday morning. Because, kinfolk, I don't know if you know, but they put him in the grave on Friday. He sat there on Friday night. Chris, what he did on Saturday night? He was in the grave on Saturday night, kinfolk. But oh, come Sunday morning, kinfolk. Oh, come Sunday morning, he rose, kinfolk. And so before Sunday morning hits, we are going to get into some good church flow talk on Saturday night. And so, man, as I end all of my shows, man, I love you. I really do, kinfolk. From the bottom of my corazón, I love you. I pray that the Lord keep you. We'll see you at the conference, man. Until next week or Saturday, say la, man. Peace. Goof ass.